All right. So part of the reason I haven't uploaded in a while is I broke my phone. You can see right here, pretty gnarly crack. Same on the back there. This phone's already been pretty Frankenstein together. It's got the pearl back with the blue bezel, so technically it's my second phone, but it doesn't have any power, or the screen isn't powered. But maybe that'll show up on camera. You can see half the backlight trying to do its thing. It'll accept touch, but there's no display. If you're lucky, you'll get intermittent display, but the touch works just fine. With that breaking, with it breaking, it put me in a pretty bad situation. I was just transitioning into a new job, and I couldn't accept phone calls or anything, so I had to do something really quick. So luckily, I had a separate phone, the one that I'm recording this on, that I was able to use in the meantime, but I still had a bunch of files on the old phone that I needed to get a hold of, and a screen replacement was going to be $150. So what I ended up doing is I lucked out and was able to get an eBay bid on another Galaxy S10 with it just has a little bit of burn in, but great see, just something to get me by. You can see I have the battery case on here. I use it to protect the port. But what I was able to do is get that phone for way cheaper, and a local repair shop actually quoted me out for a good deal to just swap the motherboards. But I still had to do certain things with that phone, like access to some of my banking apps and 2FA and that sort of thing. So what I ended up doing is I went out on Facebook Marketplace and got a handheld dock. And this is how I'm actually going to continue to reuse this hardware. So it's got pretty good I/O. Video out, that's the big one right there. But tons of USB, SD card, power in, and it's powered. So my plans are with this phone is to essentially use it as a dedicated gaming machine or just kind of something to mess around with, honestly. But it does tend to get pretty warm while you're running more intensive games or programs. So what I did is when they sent me the new phone, they actually sent it to me without an account logged in. So I didn't need to do a password or do thumbprint or anything through it. And luckily with these, I think actually starting with the generation before the S10, they have a feature called Samsung Dex, which gives you a desktop environment when you plug in an external display. And that pretty much saved my butt with my whole debacle here. But as you'll see, I just dropped this guy in here. Got it set up with the Dex. You need a mouse more than you need a keyboard to do anything. So I'm going to use this mouse. In the meantime, I have been looking for a cheap way to get like a USB compatible touchscreen. So it'd be like HDMI one port and then USB for the touch enabled side of the display. Haven't been able to source one yet for a price that I liked, but in the meantime, it works just fine on a normal display. So if we plug in display here and some power, should power that on. So we made a boot on noise and display here. We got video and mouse. I don't know how well that's going to show up since I don't have my capture card here, but as I was saying, pretty standard desktop type experience. As you can see here, it's got a pretty standard desktop environment, but you have to double click, I think, to emulate the touch confirmation. But as you can see, it's got the standards like Samsung built in and like Google Apps and stuff. I'm not signed into anything. I've just been using F-Droid to download apps and stuff without using the App Store, and then side loading through the browser as well. But if we get some games running, we can also turn on, there's a button behind here. We got RGB fans. I'm keeping them off for now just because they're a little bit noisy. But I got phone function back again. With the touchscreen, I haven't been able to get it to work alongside Dex, but I've pretty much just been using it to swipe up to unlock the screen if it gets stuck. Let me actually turn on here. Navigating Dex has been a little bit difficult because there we go. Navigating Dex has been a little bit difficult because everything is in a slightly different location. So instead of you swipe down for navigation, you don't really have touchscreen, at least in this configuration. All the notifications sit down here, and then you can take a screenshot right here, sound, all that sort of thing. Another weird quirk about this is when you go to watch any sort of content or any sort of media, it actually defaults to the phone speakers, which works out with my current display setup because I don't have speakers in this device. But I thought that was an interesting quirk when I plugged it into my TV that it didn't default to the HDMI out for the audio. But everything works, even like an X input controller. Just plug in a USB controller into the back and Bluetooth works just as good. It's still just a phone at the end of the day. So you plug in and we got nice X input. I was trying to try some other games here, but I haven't sideloaded anything that would require controller input yet. All right, so getting Automodelista going on emulator here. So far the menus seem all right. Let's see here. Let's just do yeah, sure. So as you can see, let's get zoomed in a little bit here. Apologies for the lack of capture card on this, but it looks like we're running pretty good. Just clicking the volume button on the phone physically here. It looks like I have vibration set to the phone. You can probably hear it on the desk there. But just running on a controller. Seems like we're running at full speed. Because, yeah, especially since we're loaded in. Given this is usually a harder game to emulate, I'm surprised it's running as smoothly as it is on this old of a phone. But here we are. Oh, it spun out again. Well, that's GameCube emulation. Perfect way to get still use this old phone that sadly has a broken screen. Let's try just an Android game. Quick, I did want to show that this acts like a proper desktop environment. You can quickly add windows to the side or top or whatever, and then I just have enable desktop mode on in the browser. You can see here, just have a normal web page pulled up. Shows the specs here on this phone, but I'm actually really impressed with how well this works. Right, this is the only native app I can run without making an account or sending in to Google Play, but Roblox runs great on this setup with the controller. That was also another specification I was looking for, is run with controller. If you're already signed into Google Play, you don't have to run into half the issues I was running with trying to install other games like Car X Racing and that sort of thing. But Roblox runs pretty dang good. So it's kind of a jerry-rigged solution, but it allowed me to still use this broken phone and while I get everything exported off of my old S10. So far it's been worth it, especially with this little dock thing. Kind of cool. I can use it with some other projects until I figure something better to do with this phone. Maybe even later I'll just throw it behind a TV and just use it as a dedicated streaming device. Or maybe later I'll find a nice touchscreen display and use it like a giant tablet. Not really sure yet. Oh, I guess another thing I can do is this would be a really overcomplicated second screen using Flash Top or something similar. But just wanted to share my little fix and solution for my old phone.